How often do you run? What's that look for? Oh. Yeah, that's why you can't run. Alright. So, welcome to me and Justin's show called,
You never made a name.
Yeah, that's right. Welcome to Talking About People, the show. Today we're going to be talking about John Baxter Taylor, the first African American to ever win a gold medal in the Olympics. So our story begins on November 3rd, 1882 in Washington, D.C., where John Baxter Taylor was born.
Boring.
Don't mind him, anyway. So, John lived in D.C. for a few years before...
You need help.
I don't need help from a stupid puppet.
Hey, I'm not stupid, you need me.
No, you need me. If it weren't for you, you couldn't talk.
Well, I mean, if it weren't for me, this video would be super boring and Brooks would have already given you an F. So John the Goat Taylor lived in D.C. until his high school years, where he moved to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and attended Central High School.
Central High then, as it is now, was one of the best public high schools in the country and housed the championship track and field program. So John, during his junior year in high school, joined the track team and was chosen as the track team captain and named the interscholastic quarter-mile champion for 2 consecutive years.
What is that?
So back then, the distance of an interscholastic quarter-mile was 440 yards, or 1 complete lap around a quarter-mile track. I don't really know what they use now, but it's for sure not 440 yards.
You know, I tell the story way better.
Well, I don't care, so shut up. In his senior year, he anchored the Central 1-mile relay team that participated in the Penn Relays, where he aided his team in securing a 5th place finish overall.
Adding on to that, during his senior year, he also gained a reputation for being the best quarter-miler in the city by the time he graduated in 1902.
Taylor's next stop was Brown Prep, another school with a great track and field program.
He would star there as well. He became the best prep quarter-miler in the nation on his way to winning the biggest track meets of the year in his league. He won both the Princeton Interscholastic and the Yale Interscholastic. By doing this, he set a record in the latter by completing the quarter-mile race in 50 3/5 seconds, which is the fastest time in the country that year for a prep or high schooler.
By the time Taylor was chosen to anchor his school's relay team in 1903, he was already successful, but would garner even greater attention following the relays team win at the Penn Relays.
Man, you know you could never do that.
Yeah, well, you definitely can't do that considering you have no legs, so shut up. Moving on! So, in 1903, John entered the University of Pennsylvania as a freshman at the distinguished Wharton School of Finance. He still continued his love for running, and he won the Intercollegiate Association of Amateur Athletes of America Championship while setting a new record of 49 and 1/5 seconds for the quarter-mile run.
By sophomore year at Pennsylvania, he became highly respected from the track/field community as well as the African-American community.
What do you mean?
Alright, idiot. I'll give an example. So there was a fraternity created by African-Americans called the Sigma Pi Phi Bull. And the group was always consisted of 3 doctors, 5,000 community members, and 1 community leader. Well, at the time, it was very unusual for an undergrad to be invited into the group, but John proved himself so much to them that in spring of 1903 he was selected to join. That was the only time that had happened in the history of the fraternity.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Was there anybody else in the fraternity that, you know, was like famous and stuff?
Well, there was Martin Luther King Jr., Hank Aaron, and, you know, Jack Greenberg.
I don't know who the last 2 were. So, moving on?
This show is not gonna get far.
What do you mean?
Just finish.
Coolio. So, by the summer of 1904, John was competing in track meets in Europe and France, participating in competitions, and of course winning basically all of them. But in 1905, he stopped running.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know that? I mean, he still had to focus on school and stuff. And then he didn't really like his studies, so he re-entered as a vet medical student.
Did he ever start running again?
Dude, you read the stuff, so you should know about it.
Sorry, your stupidity from earlier made me lose my memory.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, he did start running again in 1906. So in 1906, Penn University appointed a brand new track coach, which basically changed John's life, like, forever. Mike Murphy was regarded as the best track coach in the world, and he prepared John for the 1908 Olympics. But that happens later. So when Mike came in, John became a way better runner, setting a new quarter-mile record for 48.45 seconds in the IC4A games in 1906. Then in the 1907 IC4A games, he went against one of the greatest Pennsylvania teams in history, and also competed in the AAU Indoor Championships in Norfolk, Virginia, where he set a new record of 48.35 seconds. Okay, so I'm kind of tired of talking. Do you remember your stuff now?
Yeah, I think so. So, if I'm right, it was after that victory that John was given the greatest amount of respect from Southern whites.
That's right.
Alright, so after the competition, an article for the Philadelphia Inquirer had a quote about the race in Norfolk, which read, "While running the race, Taylor was deliberately fouled by one of the contestants, but he refused to fight back, and after winning the race, the audience applauded so loudly that hundreds of Southern gentlemen rushed up and shook him by the hand, an almost unheard thing for a white man in the South."
John had proven that not only was he a good athlete and a good scholar, but he was a gentleman as well.
John graduated in 1908 with his veterinarian medicine degree, but not before competing in the Penn relays one last time. He was at the time bothered by hernia and was advised not to race, so he anchored the relay team that won the championship.
John's strategy to winning all these races was to allow his opponents to run ahead of him, then chase them down from behind in the home stretch.
This strategy made him an effective anchor and racer on the relay teams he competed, and it was also the strategy which allowed him to win a spot in the 1908 Olympics. It would be the first time an African American had represented the American team in the international competition. John competed in the 400-meter race as well as the 4x400-meter relay.
So, the information about the Olympics could go on forever, and I've already been talking forever, so...
Me too. I've been talking a lot.
Dummy. I've voiced you the entire time, therefore I've been talking. You know what? Whatever. Since blah blah blah, I'm not going to go into every single detail about the Olympics. So really I will try to sum it up as best as I can.
Good luck.
Yep, thanks.
Hope you don't fail like the time you were driving and you...
We don't have to talk about that, okay? We don't have to talk about that. Could you give me a moment, please? Okay, so in July 1908, athletes gathered in London, UK for the 4th Olympiad. John competed in a very controversial 400-meter relay. So basically, British officials had called the race before it had even finished, saying that one of the Americans had fouled the British runner. And so they wanted to restart the race, but the Americans refused to rerun the entire race, so the British took home the gold. So later that day, Taylor competed in the 1600-meter medley relay. So this relay was the first race in the Olympics that required different runners to run different lengths of the race. John was selected to run to the third leg, which was 400 meters long, and from there, the American team won the race, and John Baxter Taylor was the first American to win a gold medal at the Olympic Games. After returning home to Philadelphia, John never really recovered from respiratory distress that began in the damp conditions of England. He developed typhoid pneumonia that caused his death on December 2nd, 1908. John was only 26 years old when he died. and he had only had the gold medal for 4 months before the time of his death. His death was publicized in all the newspapers, including the New York Times, which quoted that John was the world's greatest Negro runner. And that, basically, that is the story of John Baxter Taylor. Hope you guys, hope you enjoyed it. This was a 6-page skit thingy that hopefully I didn't bomb. And, hopefully Justin's voice wasn't too annoying. I also just now realized that Justin's puppet is actually a girl puppet, and I've been doing a boy puppet voice this entire time. Anyway, bye, I guess.